All right. So obviously we went very long on James Comey.
Yep.
So we'll go ahead and just jump into the speed round now. So obviously, as you just heard, and which should have been the story of the week shit. It should have been the story of the week, but that's just not how things go.
Nope.
So, but obviously, Sally Yates and James Clapper called to testify in front of Congress on like the leaking of information from the White House and on Russian collusion and Michael Flynn and all this stuff and whatnot. Or, well, really, White House leaks and Michael Flynn, and the rest kind of falls into the spectrum. So basically, here's what I'll say from the whole thing. I'm gonna throw a link to it in the comments. I'll actually throw a couple of links to it because there are some really good highlight videos that are like 6 to 8 to 11 minutes. On a specific topic or from a certain senator questioning both of them.
Ted Cruz.
I'll also throw a full link to the entire 3 hours and 8 minutes or whatever the hell it was. So if you've never seen a congressional hearing before, let's set the scene, right? We talked about how James Comey had one. Basically,
they're pretty boring.
You get you get a room that on TV, you put yourself in a dark room that on TV looks way bigger than it is in person. I know, I've been in there. It's freaking tiny, with a bunch of old stuffy people, and they all have their own agenda as far as these.
They just try to gotcha
go, right?
moment you the entire time for like 9 hours,
Right.
and you're like,
right. Which
hope I don't fuck
disappointedly
up.
Lindsey Graham did a couple times, and it bugged me because I haven't. Like, I used to hate Lindsey
so did
Graham,
I.
and like
I called him the little imp.
coming around.
like
I'm kind of coming around to him. Like, I don't love everything he says. I don't agree with all of his policy or his political views.
I do
or
tend to
whatever,
agree
but
with everything he's saying here lately, and I'm just like, fucking goddamn it! Here's another thing I agree with you on.
I respect him. I respect him a lot more than I once did.
Yeah.
So anyway, so he was guilty of it a little bit, but basically, so if we're setting the scene, small, stuffy, dark room, you got Sally Yates and James Clapper sitting right next to each other in front of like a half round circle table, or not table, it's a bunch of desks, but so it's supposed to be intimidating, I would imagine, to the person sitting in front of them.
Right.
And then it's a bunch of gotcha questions. So basically, the links to the content, the actual hearing itself, are in the comment section. But we can break down the most important things quickly. First of all, if you ask a Democrat, they're going to tell you that James Clapper and Sally Yates, first of all, CNN, Wolf Blitzer, I think it was, don't quote me on Wolf Blitzer, but I know it was somebody on his show, at the very least, that was like, Sally Yates crushed it out of the park! Like,
I don't know why you're still watching CNN.
I don't know if that's necessarily. I don't know if that's necessarily the case. I wasn't. It was an article.
I have a CNN article pulled up at the moment, so
But the thing is that, like, you ask a Democrat, and Sally Yates completely damned Trump to all ties Russia, and Michael Flynn is like the most evil bridge dweller in the world, and that's what a Democrat will tell you. If you ask a Republican, they'll tell you that they drilled and grilled Sally Yates and James Clapper, and that their testimony completely exonerate Donald Trump.
They look straight foolish.
Right. So basically, here's a couple of the things that were asked. Sally Yates was asked when. She was asked about Michael Flynn and, what are your dealings with the White House and Michael Flynn? And basically she says that she made two personal meetings and a phone call with White House counsel to
warn them,
discuss to warn them about Michael Flynn, that he had compromised himself. He had put himself in a position taking money from Russia, and with basically her argument was, look, with every single day that he had lied to the vice president, he had lied to the president, he lied about his dealings with Russia. Sally Yates knew that. Sally Yates tried to inform the White House of that, and I mean that was basically what she told them. She met with them.
Yep.
Basically, one phone call and then 2 meetings, and she went with one of her assistants or somebody else that in the department to meet personally with White House staff to inform them that that Michael Flynn was lying and that his lie was changing. And each time he told the lie, it got a little bit more twisted, and he could potentially, if he continued to go down that road, put himself in a position to be blackmailed by Russia.
Right. Or Russian interest. Yeah, Russia's not like one
Russian
guy who's just like, I'm Russian! I get you. But,
right.
And it seems pretty conclusive, at least at this point. That might be me jumping the gun and overreaching, but it seems pretty conclusive at this point that Flynn perhaps broke the law, but definitely had some ties to these Russian banks that he was not eager to disclose. That's what it looks like.
Right. And he had like one of the highest clearances as far as
he was a
being
national
able to
security
access
advisor. Like he was up there.
Right. So, and then that begs the question: was he a national security risk because of whatever he was doing? And I'm sure that in the weeks
and there's a good argument for it.
We'll have an answer to that question, but we don't yet. What we do know is that through that line of questioning from Lindsey Graham. She was also in the middle of telling her story about how she informed the White House. She was asked at any time where any congressman or anybody in the administration unmasked during the process, which for people who don't know, unmasked is just like the legal term for obtaining the person's name, right? So that you can look into them. So it's not necessarily like this crazy, because when I heard it, like I think of like hackers and people digging to unmask somebody, and like that's not what it is. It's you fill out a form essentially and ask somebody, hey, can I look into this guy? And they say yeah, and now his mask's off. That's the story. But she didn't answer that, and here's where I feel like Lindsey Graham was pulling some gotcha stuff, because he was asking her like, at any point during during the 2016 campaign, was anybody unmasked that involved the administration or Congress or whatever? And she was like, that impedes an investigation. I can't answer that. And he knows that. They know that. They know that they cannot answer questions. So then Lindsey Graham proceeded to ask more questions down that path, where it was just like, everything.
It's trying to make her look guilty by not answering. It's that whole, no smoke without frogs argument. So.
Right. Which this is the new oatmeal. These are inside jokes that the audience don't.
But I get them.
But I get them. So anyway, and then James Clapper also was questioned in the same line of questioning. If somebody requested an unmasking of somebody, would there be documentation of that? And
I would think so.
And basically, Lindsey Graham in the beginning was like, wouldn't there be documentation of that? And James Clapper was like, well, I can't speak to this case because I'm not involved with this case, but what I can tell you is that a 702 request, yes, would be documented. That's what it would be. I mean, that's what you would be asking for, a 702 whatever, and yeah, that would be documented. I don't know in this situation, which makes James Clapper look like either he honestly doesn't know if you buy it, or that he's hiding something if you don't want to buy it. So, it's just kind of one of these moments where I don't know.
I just take a step back and go, until I see evidence, whatever. And honestly,
right.
I don't hold myself to that standard for everything. Anyone who's watched this show knows that I don't like Michael Flynn. I think he looks shady, and from what I've been saying, you could come to the conclusion that I've written his innocence off. And I actually haven't. I don't think he's innocent, but I'll wait to see what comes out.
Right. Yeah, no, and I think that's a fair approach. Now, on the flip side, Trump definitely has ties with Russia, and we should impeach him like crazy. No. That was just a tease for those listeners out there. They're like, this MFer, this guy is too damn liberal. Yeah, I can go there. So basically, that's for the whole 3 hours, we learned what we just discussed, and Republicans would tell you that because James Clapper said, first of all, we learned Democrats have, for a long time, been making this claim that all of the intelligence communities have agreed that there is Russian interference with the 2016 election. Mm-hmm. Well, that's simply not true. There are 17 intelligence agencies, only 3 of them. Now, they are the most important.
And they're the only 3 that had access to the files.
Right. So
it still doesn't look good, but it's an overreach whenever you say.
You will hear liberals say all of the intelligence agencies. And I just want to clarify that is not accurate. So if you hear somebody saying that, correct them. It's not. It's 3, and it is the only 3 that matter. So
it still looks bad, but when you lie about it, you make it, and they go, oh, well, it wasn't what you said it was. It still kind of is. You just overreached and turned 3 into 17, and that's just not true. So
now, in the same hearing, James Clapper said that we did learn that through his testimony that, hey, no, look, only 3 of these agencies have, and maybe some of us knew that. I didn't know that until he said it.
I didn't until he said
I'll
it.
admit that. Yeah. But he also said that based on what he saw or what he knew, that he couldn't see any evidence of the Trump campaign's collusion with Russia. Now, keep in mind that James Clapper then goes on to say, I'm also not involved with this, so I wouldn't see it. You can ask me about it all day long, but I wouldn't see it. And to me, that's another gotcha moment where a Republican is asking him a question to specifically make him say, well, I haven't seen any collusion. Well, no shit, you don't work there.
Has Donald Trump ever personally lied to you? I've never met him. Exactly. It's no. That's not a good question.
Right. So, so here's what I take away from that entire hearing. Not a lot. A lot of grains of salt. There were a lot of questions that couldn't be answered, and I'm not going to fault either of them for it. Now, I will say that Lindsey Graham came out, and I didn't actually hear his statements on what he thought of James Clapper's testimony, but I did catch him on Greta Van Susteren or whatever show she's on MSNBC now.
She's on MSNBC?
She's on MSNBC. Dude, apparently women don't like their asses grabbed at the office. Who knew?
Even when it airs in...
Right.
These are the pinnacle of manhood here.
But I did see Lindsey Graham talk about Sally Yates, and he said good things about her testimony. Mm-hmm. He did say that we learned that, through the process, some people were asked to unmask and blah 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 blah, and maybe we learned that, maybe we didn't. She didn't really answer that, but he did say that as far as her job and how she handled the Michael Flynn dealings, that she did everything right, that she was a credible witness, and that he went so far as to say, look, she didn't go to the media, she went to the White House.
Yeah.
That's what you're supposed to do.
Unless you're Devin Nunes.
So he said nice things. Right.
And you don't go to the White House.
but she wasn't also investigating anything. So,
right.
But I will. But so I mean, I think you can watch it for yourself. You can come to your own conclusion. I have a feeling if you're a Democrat, you'll come to a certain conclusion, and if you're a Republican, you'll come to another conclusion.
Right.
And I think independents might fall somewhere where we are right now, where it's just, I don't know. I mean, it is what it is. I don't know if it's going to mean a lot until.
Right.
I mean, until the investigation's done and you can look back on the hearing and be like, look, that's where James Clapper obviously lied, or that's where Sally Yates obviously told the truth. We won't know until the story is fully written.
Right.
But,
now,
you know.
And I don't know if you saw it today. There was actually the appeals court. Where was it up at? For the travel ban. And they came out and they were grilling them pretty hard, and they were like, "This is extremely odd. Like, and never before have you taken a candidate's statement from the campaign and said that's our evidence for why this isn't legal." So I don't know what's going to happen too, because obviously that's where Sally Yates really got her name, is by opposing the travel ban and shutting it down, and then probably being fired by Donald Trump.
But to Lindsey Graham's earlier point because Lindsey Graham said himself, there was another Republican that was, I can't remember who it was, but he was just like grilling her about it wasn't John McCain. There was, I can't remember who it was, but he was just grilling her about, like, why did you stop? So you think you're the law, and blah, blah, blah. And
I heard about it.
Lindsey Graham stopped him and was like, wait a minute, we're talking about two different executive orders. The executive order that's held up right now is the revised version of the first shitty executive order. And, like, all parties agree, including the Trump administration, or else they wouldn't have rewritten it, that was a shitty draft.
They had to admit
the
there were some weaknesses within that executive order in order to revise it. Now, I don't agree that the second revision, but that's how Sally Yates came to prominence, is by opposing that first one.
Right, and I do think that as far as it relates to Sally Yates, I personally believe she had every right to do that, and I think most people would.
I still think that the original version.
Most politicians who are looking at, I think the politicians that are looking at the legality of what was rolled out, like Lindsey Graham, like John McCain, are saying
John McCain doesn't count.
Like,
I'm sorry, but whenever that's like asking Elizabeth Warren what she thinks about Trump. She's going to say she hates him. That's John McCain. Like, he might be a Republican, but he hates Trump.
Lindsey Graham and John McCain feel exactly the same about Russia.
I semi-trust Lindsey Graham just because he's come off as more even-keeled recently, but I don't trust John McCain. Like, whenever they found out that he was the Tea Party guy, and I'll show you that video, man, where he is just desperately trying to escape the reporters, and he almost walks into a wall, and you're like, you're just upset about what Trump said to you.
It's just because he's a dinosaur. You can't be mad at him for being old.
It's like, why are you still here? I was nervous you were going to die and we were going to get stuck with Palin a million years ago, and somehow you're still around. I don't get it.
God, how bad would that have been?
That would have been horrifying.
Oh, man.
Drill, baby, drill.
All right, well, let's not set up that hypothetical. The audience can have nightmares themselves tonight.
Right.
But, so, I mean, at the end of the day, watch the hearing. I think it was, I didn't mind watching it. I thought it was interesting. I actually when I was sitting down watching it, I actually luckily got home early enough in the day that day from work to be able to sit down and watch it as it was happening, at least for an hour or so, the end of it. And it's if you're into politics and you're into watching those types of hearings, like, it's interesting. I watched it. I didn't turn away from it. But I will. But I mean, I don't know what it proves. So I mean, that's my assessment of that entire hearing, is that until the end of this,
right. My personal thoughts are that still waiting for that Russian evidence, and off of that, going to the executive order, I think that it'll pass. I think that they'll get that
It took Bill Clinton 4 years for Monica Lewinsky to pop up out of Whitewater. So just because you don't have Russian evidence yet doesn't mean that there's nothing there.
I'm just saying, we're still waiting for it. And you think
if it looks like a duck, dude. If it looks like a duck.
It's on fire.
All right.
Well, moving on to the next thing on the speed round. There was an election in South Korea. And this guy, Moon Jae-in, seems to be the winner. Not seems to be. He definitely is the winner. No. Why that's important.
Till he gets blowed up.
Right. It's possible. Long-range missiles, bro. So the reason why that's important is because he is taking a much different stance than their previous president. He actually has, and this is the thing that I just don't understand, is, a lot of the points that I've seen him make sort of make sense to me, that he's kind of a more liberal guy. But he's against the missile system that the U.S. set up on the northern South Korean border. The one that's supposed to shoot down the nukes if North Korea nukes them. He's against it. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I don't understand.
I don't know anything about Korean politics, but I could imagine a world where that's just a political play.
Yeah. I mean, I could see that, because it seems like you'd probably want the crazy guy above you that's talking about nuking everybody.
It kind of be like one of those things where I'm like, hey, Mitch, you know what? I don't really care about these missiles anymore. I'm going to get rid of them. And then I turn to my fiance and I say, hey, Stacy, hide those in the trees a little bit better, because, I don't want Mitch to know I have them. But if he tries anything, I still don't trust him. Have you seen that mustache? There's no reason to trust him.
Everyone on this feed here can tell I do not have a mustache. Fake news.
Yeah, I can't see you right now. All I can see is your profile pic. So,
yeah. So basically, this guy, he's a pretty interesting guy. He was imprisoned back a few months for protesting when he was a student. At that point, he was protesting the dictatorship of Park Chung-hee in the 1970s. So he's like a big activist type of guy.
Boom ding ow.
Boom ding ow.
What?
So, the thing about this is that he wants to bring North Korea to the table. And what's interesting is that Donald Trump wants to bring North Korea to the table. And if you know anything about North Korea, basically what they've been doing with this whole missiles and nuking things, yes, they want to nuke us. He's made that pretty damn clear. Every few months they put out a propaganda video that shows the White House blowing up in a nuclear explosion. So Kim Jong-un is not a nice guy. But basically what happened is they were told, you have to play by the rules. You cannot become a nuclear superpower. And they said, no, fuck that. We're going to make up our own rules. We're going to start, going towards that way, because all the big players in the world have nuclear weapons. And that's what we want to do. And so we've slapped them with sanctions, over and over again. And basically all we've done is starved out the smaller people, and the Kim Jong family has just kept going with these nukes. And so now that they finally have it, and like just either today or yesterday, I can't remember when it was, they went ahead and tested again. This time it was a long-range missile. So they've steadily been building up their capabilities this entire time. And it seems like it's working now that they have nukes, and then now that they have the chance to actually nuke the people that they've been saying they're going to be nuking, all of a sudden we want to bring them to the table and see, if they actually start getting a say in matters like at the UN and whatnot. So as much as I hate it, I almost feel like it worked. And, it used a lot of people had to die to get there, but,
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. First of all, I didn't know. So, is this guy still a dictator? Because I didn't know. I didn't know they had a dictator.
Like, I don't know if he's like officially a dictator.
And I don't. Here's my bad. Assuming that the United States would not back a dictator is my bad. Like that's on me, guys. I dropped the ball there.
Biden called Bashar al-Assad a great reformer, so that was before he gassed his own people. That was one reformation they weren't in favor of, but even still.
Yeah, man, I don't know. I just I think going to the table with Kim Jong-un at all
is a mistake.
Yeah,
I'm going on record. I think
like
it's a mistake. I think it's naive.
I feel like it is. Yeah. Wouldn't you think that with Trump, too? Because Trump's brought it up.
Yeah, he did. Well, he gave him clear... Well, he said he did. Notice how there hasn't been any type of retaliation. He said that, what do you call it? If Kim Jong-un tried any more missile tests, there would be great consequences. And Kim Jong-un was like, long-range missile test, here we go. So there hasn't been any consequences. Yeah, well, like, they both came out, and the White House and South Korea came out and was like, it's very disturbing. Same shit that fucking Barack Obama did that just would piss me off to no end, because you know that I've been talking about North Korea as a big player for a while.
Yeah, I do. Now, I do think, too, that what we're going to get from this administration is more of the same on North Korea.
We better fucking
I really
not,
do.
Because we're going to have to take care of them at some point, in one way or the other.
Sniper, dude.
Exactly. Fucking go Castro route and start giving him fucked up, I don't know, put a bomb in his goddamn basketball. Fucking weird ankle motherfucker.
You're telling me that there's not send James Franco. Like, why has nobody called him? We already know how this goes.
Get Dennis Rodman. Be like, hey, I want to play some b-ball. And naturally, it's a fucking bomb. And then you just blow him up. And it's done.
Do you know the fruit there was fake? Like, that's all. That's all I want to talk about.
You're just Boromir.
But I don't think going to the table with Kim Jong-un, no matter what country you are, is a good idea. I mean, I guess if you're evil Russia, then go ahead. And, like, here's the thing. Whether or not Russia colluded with anyone ever...
They didn't make...
Putin's still a douchebag. He's still an evil douchebag.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely fair. I mean, there's things in Russia that are fucked up. But I mean, the problem I have is when they blame Putin for Hillary Clinton cheating.
There are conspiracy theories.
Like, no.
There's a theory going around, much like your woods walk theory, that if you follow the trail of dead Russians, you will find the collusion between the two parties in that. Which two
parties?
Understand that as the Trump campaign and Russia.
I mean, I think everyone's under the assumption that yes, the Putin administration is killing off these people because they die in very obvious ways. Like they don't, they die from poison. You assume someone tried to poison you when you die from poison. That's a concerted effort to kill you.
Or getting shot in the middle of, like, the Kremlin in the middle of the evening.
Yeah.
I know that
and they happen to have spoken out against Putin, like, a day before. So, like, yeah, there's pretty conclusive evidence around that one. So, but of course they would link it to Trump. Trump's been around for 100 days. Like, no, that's not true.
Well, he's been around for longer than that. As far as if you're talking about ties between Trump and Russia, you would have to start at his candidacy.
Yeah, but people have been getting murdered off by Putin for a lot longer than.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Like,
now that
this
doesn't
stretches
mean
back
that just
for
because,
a while.
That also doesn't mean that just because Putin kills somebody for one thing, he won't kill them for another thing. But all I'm saying is I understand the entire theory as just that, a conspiracy theory.
Right.
It's fun to entertain your brain and tease yourself with, but A, nothing's going to come of that, and B, if it does someday, then I'll eat my words and be like, I told you!
Oh, fuck!
I effing told you!
Dude was the leader of the KGB, I'm just saying. I'm sure he knows how to throw down. It's Russia.
Right. So, I know he has to know how to throw down. Have you seen him play hockey? He scores like 6 goals
He's a beast,
a night
man.
With like, I know, dude. He's got like Russian greats on there too. Kovalchuk and
Crosby is little
Datsuk.
bitch. Look at my slap shots, comrades. And just fucking owns it. Like,
Right. Here's what's awesome, and I'll actually find this video and put it in the comments too, just for our hockey fans out there. I watched a video of them playing that game, where Vladimir, and it was a montage of all of the times that Putin scored, and literally no one is moving on the ice. Like, everybody just stops. It's Putin coming up the ice by himself. There's 4 defenders, and they all just spread away, and the goalie just like slides out of the way. Yeah, I don't want to die either over a hockey game. Are you kidding me?
I break your legs. Let's see how well you play now. No, my favorite
Right.
Putin story is whenever he was at the White House and they wouldn't let Barack Obama and Putin work out in the same room at the same time. So he just took his shirt off in the middle of winter and started swimming outside. I was like, you're a badass. He's an evil badass, but that's still pretty badass.
That's funny.
But going back to North Korea, the Kim Jong-un is going to have to be taken care of in one way or the other. I don't think you can trust the dude. Like I said, he's literally said, I will nuke you. And he's been saying it consistently for 7 years. Not Kim Jong-un, because Kim Jong-un only came to power, I think, like 4 years ago or something. But
right. I don't trust anybody that says that, just as a rule of thumb.
Right. If you want to nuke people, it's kind of fucked up. So I don't understand. So anyway, going back to the South Korean new president, I think, to me, just looking at it preliminarily, I think that there's a lot of correlations in his tone between him and François Hollande, who won France's election 5 years ago, where he kind of came in and was like, we're going to make everything great, and we're going to tax people 75%, and everything's going to be awesome. And it didn't. It totally bombed and was shit.
Right.
And I can only imagine that's what it is. And again, I'm no expert in Korean politics, so I don't know what the South. I know South Korea is doing pretty damn good. I own a Samsung phone that's like the best phone out there. You know, they're doing fine. Capitalism has worked out very well for them in the past 50 years. So, you know, I don't understand why they would suddenly go so liberal, and especially whenever you've got a nuclear weirdo sitting above you threatening to kill every one of your people. I don't get it.
Yeah,
I just don't get it.
I don't understand it either. I do know that as far as, like I stated before, if I'm anyone in the world, I'm not dealing with North Korea at all. I think...
Well, you got to deal with them at some point, because they're going to keep doing that. Like, even Barack Obama came out and said to Donald Trump, you are going to be the one that has to take care of North Korea in some way, shape, or form. Like, they're going to become, at some point, they're going to be able to, and we see now they just did the long-range missile test. It looks like this is the point. They now can attack us.
Right.
And they've been saying they're going to do it for 7 years. And we've been putting sanctions on them and killing all of their people by starving them to death. And
so what do? If you're...
You have to take him...
Well,
in my opinion, you have to take him out. But I think everyone calls me a warmonger because I still think that geopolitical things can be solved by war because they can.
All right. So, if you're South Korea, let's answer it from both perspectives. If you're South Korea, what do?
You back America, in my opinion. All this is going to be in my opinion. And if I was South Korea, I would be doing everything I could to work with America and Israel to help bolster up the northern border, make sure that we are protected with the same, what's it called in Israel? The Golden Dome or something like that. Like, I can't remember what they call it. You know, the big anti-missile system that they have.
Did
there.
you hear the bias in that response? Yeah.
Damn it. But I would be doing all that.
Have we ever done Israel on this show?
We did it. It was like the first segment we ever did, and I don't think we aired it. Or if we did, it was the first thing, so no one listened to it. So, you know.
I don't think we've... No, I know what you're talking about was never aired because it was never meant to be aired.
Right. Our Pro Tools didn't work when we were recording a song, and we decided to sit down and have an argument instead. So.
Right. We'll have to do that segment sometime,
right?
Because
I have some complicated views on Israel.
I want to piss some people off. So,
but that's what I would be doing if I was South Korea. Like I would be talking to America and saying, "Hey, they want to kill you too. Let's take them out." And if I was America, I would understand the threat and go, "This guy's a madman. We either let the madman come and sit and eat with us, which we don't want to do, or we take him out now, which apparently we don't want to do, or we do nothing like Obama did, which has gotten us directly into this mess right now where we don't want to be." It seems like let's just take care of the problem, and that's messy. It's war. It's operations. It's things like that. But what do you do with this guy? In my opinion, I think we take him out.
I don't know. All I do know is I'm glad that. And here's a weird thing that I never thought I'd say. I'm glad that Nikki Haley is the one that has to talk.
Yeah,
on that, like
she's doing a good job, man.
Like,
I've been impressed by how good she's doing.
I'm really impressed by her. I really am, and I think that as a result of her position now, she will probably be president.
I think she'll run.
Day.
I don't know if she ever will because patriarchy. So
because what?
The patriarchy, dude. The glass ceiling is going to keep her down. So
I gotcha. No. Oh man,
it happened to Marine Le Pen, dude. Didn't happen to Clinton though.
It sucks. If I wasn't, if I really wanted to just go out, that would be our closeout song.
What's that?
Here, I'm a crazy woman. Hear me roar. Breaking. I don't know. Every Katy Perry song that talks about glass ceilings, isn't it like all of her songs?
Yes, Sophie is on a Katy Perry kick, so I've heard quite enough Katy Perry for the last 3 days.
I'm pretty sure her next album is called like "The Glass Floor Under the Glass Ceiling," on top of the glass floor. There's a lot of glass in that one.
Right.
Hopefully not. That would hurt. Anyway,
right.
So I mean, we'll see. But I think that's good enough to call a week. So anyway, don't forget to like and subscribe for our latest content. All of the links to the comments are all of the links to the show and the topics discussed during the comments. What do you got for YouTube?
YouTube segments should be uploaded when we get them done. Here lately, we've been doing it kind of on the same day and getting them all, but eventually we're going to start getting segments put out kind of as they come up. So keep your eye on YouTube because I'm going to try to keep that updated. This will be really the first week where I try to do this different editing technique that hopefully should be a lot faster and be able to get put up pretty quickly. Other than that, on Google Play, iTunes, you can find the program uploaded every Tuesday at some point in Tuesday. Maybe not in the morning, but sometimes Tuesday it's going to be going up, so you can count on that.
Right. So yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much it. So thanks for listening once again, and as always, we'll leave you now with the alternative fact of the week.